and welcome to the eFresh.com Meat, Poultry and Egg News. My name is Kim and these are this week's headlines. South Korea demands apology over U.S. beef report. Western Australia live cattle exports hit. TB quarantine expands to 42 Nebraska herds. Farmers squawk over new law. Stonyfield Farm takes on cow burps. The Korean presidential office called on top executives of a local broadcaster to apologize and step down over a report about the dangers of consuming U.S. beef that prosecutors allege was distorted. The president's spokesman made the demands after the prosecution on formally indicted 5 employees, 4 producers, and a scriptwriter of broadcaster NBC on charges of defaming government officials by producing and airing what is said were biased reports about U.S. beef. Months of violent street protests ensued after the Lee Myung-bak administration agreed to lift the country's near 5-year-old ban on U.S. beef imports. Western Australia's largest live cattle export market, Indonesia, is feeling the pinch of the world economic crisis and is putting pressure on cattle prices, as fewer Indonesian households are eating beef. Andrew Stewart from Landmark in Brome said live export cattle prices had been heading the wrong way, with the rise of the Australian dollar also having an impact. However, Mr. Stewart said prices traditionally dropped at this time of year because of an influx of big lines of cattle from both the Kimberley and Northern Territories. The number of cattle that had been loaded out of Brome was ahead of where they were this time last year, but orders were hard to come by. Only 2 to 3 ships have headed to Indonesia and Malaysia so far. The number of Nebraska cattle herds quarantined because of bovine tuberculosis concerns has jumped to 42, and 2 other states were warned the disease may have already spread there. The quarantine, which includes roughly 15,000 Nebraska cattle, is likely to continue growing in the weeks ahead, as investigators are still tracking down all the animals that may have had contact with the infected herd over the last 2 years. 10 Nebraska counties have now quarantined herds, up 5 from last week. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is working with state officials to determine the source of the tuberculosis and how widespread the infection is. Meanwhile, Texas officials quarantined a West Texas dairy herd and slaughtered several cattle that have tested positive for tuberculosis. They have not yet identified the source. By one of the biggest margins in California's rich initiative history, voters decreed last year that egg-laying hens must be able to stretch their wings without touching another bird or a cage wall. But the details of the new animal welfare law are bedeviling egg farmers, and a newly introduced bill in Sacramento would require competing farmers in other states to adopt California standards if they want to sell eggs in the Golden State. Industry-wide, chickens are now provided an average space of the size of an 8x11 sheet of paper. The new regulations approved in November don't take effect until 2015, but the egg fight has already come to roast in the state capitol, where lawmakers are being lobbied by producers to clarify the requirements and address the added cost to meet them. The first program in North America to naturally decrease global warming gases caused by cows' burps has been announced by environmental pioneer Stonyfield Farm, the world's leading organic yogurt company. An unexpected benefit of the program is that it also significantly increases the nutritional value of the milk. The pilot program works by feeding cows a diet high in natural omega-3 sources, such as alfalfa, flax, and grasses. This results in an increase in the milk's omega-3 content and decrease in the levels of saturated fats. Through intensive, ongoing analysis of the feed in the cow's milk, the pilot program rebalances the cow's main stomach, or rumen. This results in a reduction of the waste byproduct methane, a greenhouse gas which the cows emit primarily through burping. Thank you for watching the eFresh.com Meat, Poultry and Egg News. See you next time.